welcome to the Art of Decluttering podcast. I'm your host, Amy Revell. This week, we are diving straight into you have too many containers. Stop buying containers, no more containers, stop the inflow of containers in your world because you have, let me be honest, too many containers. So no more containers is where we're going with the episode this week. I hope that you guys don't mind that I just jump into it each week. I'll tell you stories about myself and things that are going on throughout the podcast. But every week when I start the podcast, I'm just I just want to get into it. And sometimes when I listen to other podcasts, I'm like, oh, I've got to listen to 15 minutes of, catch up time, which is fine, but probably just not how my brain works. So I hope that is good for you. If you want more hey, what's going on in the world of Amy talk, just ask me. In fact, let me give you an update. I started crocheting because I think I mentioned it in a podcast about hobbies and I wanted to take up crocheting. So I bought a kids kit and I've been watching YouTube videos of children teaching other children how to crochet and I can't do it. I mean, I can do a single line and all that. And I think it's too fiddly and not enough fast reward for me. So I've put it aside for the moment and basically I'm just throwing myself all into doing my houseplants and gardening and that type of thing. So that's where the crocheting's at. If anyone's got any super great, easy ways to start crocheting, can you just DM me a link to a YouTube video or jump into the Facebook community and let me know? Because I'm just a bit stuck and I don't want to give up. I think it's something I could enjoy. It's busy hands, quiet mind type thing for me. But at the moment I'm not. It's just frustrating and slow and I don't like being slow and I don't like having to learn new things. Okay. If you have lots of containers in your home, what you will likely find over time is that containers get full and start to overflow. If it's got a lid, you might start to pile stuff on top of the lid. You might buy a second container because it doesn't quite fit. And you might think, oh, the container's not big enough. I don't have enough room. And then you just have this containerizational issue. Do you like that new word? Containerizational issue that you're trying to solve with more containers. But what I want to talk to you about today is the fact that if you have more and more and more and more containers, you are not solving the problem. The issue is not that you need more containers, it's that you need less stuff. If you think about a container, the purpose of the container is to contain. It's to keep things within natural limits. Now, the natural limits is the container that you pick to have it in. How I like to think about it, and I often talk to clients about this, is your home is your natural container. If you've got a 5-bedroom home, you've got a larger container than if you've got a 1-bedroom home. But ultimately, your house is the overarching container of where you keep your stuff. Now, in saying that, if you have storage, unit storage, if you've got offsite storage, if your backyard and your shed have all started to kind of pile up, if you've got lots of plastic tubs with a tarp over the top in your backyard, yes, I'm talking to you. You have exceeded what your house as a container can contain. And so if you think about your house as a container, then you can then think about each room as a container. Within the room, you might have a bookshelf that's a container, or you might have some drawers. And within that, you might have some smaller containers that differentiate categories. And so when we are organizing, even people who are significantly disorganized, there will be containers within containers within containers because that's how our brains like to work. And I'm being honest with you, it's a really great way to do it because you know where things belong, how to put them away, and it keeps things, let's go, contained. Now, the issue, my friend, is when those containers no longer contain, you think it's the container problem. What I want to remind you, it's not the container problem, it's the quantity of stuff problem. So if you are filling a box with your sewing supplies and the container gets too full and you go and get another container, well, where was that container living? Was it living maybe under your sewing desk? And so then all of a sudden under your sewing desk doesn't have enough room for the containers because you just keep buying more stuff, buying more containers, needing more space. So then maybe you get some drawers, but the drawers need to go in the room, which has to be in the house. Can you see how as soon as you start increasing your containers, you start putting pressure on all your storage solutions and storage furniture? You put pressure on your rooms, you put pressure on your house, and you start to feel like your house is too small, you don't have enough storage. I mean, I hear it all the time. So many client intake calls start with, I've got this lovely house, but it just doesn't have adequate storage. And, like, I get it. Our house has terrible storage. In fact, there's one cupboard in our house. One cupboard. There's one cupboard. It was, I think, intended to be a linen cupboard. It's, like, in the hallway. We use it for puzzles and board games. Linen lives in the bedrooms. But our home does not have built-in wardrobes. We don't have a laundry cupboard. We have a very, very, very thin pantry, like, it's maybe 40 centimeters wide, so it's quite small. We don't have there's just no storage inbuilt. So we've come up with some storage solutions and got some storage furniture. But within that, there are limits. And if I just keep buying more stuff, you end up just buying more storage furniture to keep around your house. Um, and that's not solving your problem. If you have stacked containers, so you have a container with a lid, often with like handles that lock it in, and you have started to stack them around your house in a wardrobe, behind closed doors, in the spare room, in the garage, have a think, am I actually accessing and using the stuff that's in those bottom storage containers? Or has that where my stuff has gone to die? Because that's often what happens. I'm not a big fan of storage containers with lids unless you absolutely need to have it. I find that having things open means that I can more easily grab something, quickly put things away. As an ADHDer, the more steps makes things quite complicated for me. If I have to undo the sides of the like the locks on the lid, then take the lid off and then put the thing in and then put the lid back on and then click it back into place, that is a whole lot more steps than just pull it out, shove it in, push it back. And so I want you to be thinking about, like, are there a lot of lidded containers in your home that has stuff in it that you're not using anymore? So you can kind of see how containers is a really big thing, because what often we do, and this whenever we do intake with clients, there is like, what do I need to do in preparation for a session? And I'll say nothing, including you don't need to go out and buy containers. Because almost every time someone gets a professional organizer in, they have tried before they call us to solve the problem with more containers. And so we can reuse them and repurpose them, but you don't need to go out and buy them. What I thought would be helpful during the episode today is I want to go through 1, 2, 3 areas in your home where I think they're the biggest culprit areas of us thinking more containers needs to be the solution rather than less stuff. And I just see it's like clutter creep. It starts out being contained and it just creeps and it goes wherever it wants to go. And so I want to kind of give you the lens to look at your spaces and identify where clutter creep is happening. And the solution that most often you're going to try and do when there is clutter creep is you're going to buy more containers. And so let's talk it through. I think that there'll be one or multiple of these that you can probably identify in your own home. So the first one is the wardrobe. What clutter creep looks like in a wardrobe is you start using the spare room wardrobe for your clothes. You start using underbed storage, or you buy some freestanding clothing racks and you start keeping your clothes on those, whether in your room or in another space. You start buying vacuum seal bags and vacuuming up out of season clothes and putting them at the top of the wardrobe because you just don't have enough space. You might start keeping some of your things in the kids' wardrobes. I see all of these things all of the time. And the issue is not that you need to then go and buy more vacuum seal bags or more underbed storage or another freestanding clothes rack, but it is that you don't need as many clothes as you have. If your home can't contain the number of clothes that you have, you probably have too many clothes. And so it might be that you wish you could have more clothes. You wish that you could have a whole dressing room, but you don't have that at the moment. And so you need to be respectful of the limits. Otherwise, you're going to constantly feel like you're not on top of your clutter. So what do you do if you've noticed wardrobe creep and your solution has been thus far to just buy more containers, more drawers? I see so many bedrooms with just chests of drawers just banked around the room. The room feels claustrophobic. The drawers are messy as it is. Most of the stuff in the drawers is not being worn, but you feel like I just needed more storage. So friend, you probably don't need more storage. You probably just need less stuff. And so I want you to think about, like, how can I reduce the quantity? Do I need to just get rid of the excess storage furniture and then make things fit? Well, that may not really work for you because you've already identified the problem, which is you have too much stuff. So I want you to just think through categories. If your shoes no longer fit where you keep your shoes, whether that's in your wardrobe or at the front door or in shoe storage, if they no longer fit, it's probably time to declutter your shoes. And so go and start going through. I mean, I've got so many episodes about all of the areas that we're talking about today that you can go look at. The wardrobe challenge is a great place to start. If you're like, yes, Amy, I'm guilty. My wardrobe is the place where clutter creep has happened and I'm trying to solve it with more containers. Just jump on and do my free 5-day wardrobe challenge. I'll put a link in the show notes in the description. So that can be an area. Our wardrobes really, really, really clutter creep all the time. And it takes work to stay on top of it. It doesn't just automatically happen. All right, if you've got kids, their toys is definitely an area where you're getting clutter creep. So what that might look like is you're buying more storage boxes, more storage containers, more storage furniture. You're buying toy boxes, you're buying underbed storage solutions. You put toys in the garage and you're thinking, I'm going to rotate the toys through. You've gone from just toys in the playroom to now toys in the bedroom, or just having toys in the bedroom to having toys in the lounge room. They've started to creep into spaces that they weren't intended to be. You don't need that many toys. If your toys are exceeding the storage that you have for your toys, with the exemption perhaps if it's like your first time parenting and it's the first time having a 3-year-old who's got toys, like you need to set up some system. But if you have a system and you are finding clutter creep everywhere, it's time to get rid of some of the toys. Again, I'll put some links in the show notes to episodes where I talk about like your kids don't need this many toys. It's actually not good for their neurological and social and all of their areas of development to have too many things. They can't manage that. It's a lot. If you're 3 and you're just like inundated with options and it's chaos options, I can't concentrate for very long. I can't pick what I want to play with. My imagination is stifled. And so I want to help you understand that if you are finding that toys are creeping, there are too many toys. This is especially true if you start trying to think, I've got a category that my kid's really interested in, and you just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger containers for it. So it might be that they're super into toy trains, or they're super into Lego, or they're super into Meccano building sets. Have a think, instead of just thinking that one category has to expand, could you get rid of categories that they're no longer playing with? Like they're no longer playing with Duplo because they've moved on to Lego. They're no longer playing with little ponies and horses because they're now playing with My America Girl Child thing. I never know the name of that toy as a mum of boys, but there's America is in the name. But you guys know what I'm talking about, like those bigger dolls that you do lifestyle play with. Maybe it's that the category that your child is wanting to grow in can grow, but it needs to not just grow independently on itself. It actually needs to take over another category. So you need to get rid of something else so that the containerization and the space that it takes up doesn't exceed what you've allowed for it. And your children, although they may not thank you at the time, because kids can be hard to declutter with, actually it's good for them. And sometimes as parents, we need to make choices that are good for our kids, even if they're not like, yay, mom, dad, you made a great choice for me. All right, so that's for kids, but let's talk about spaces that you operate in. And the kitchen is another one where I find that the solution is often people just go and buy more containers. They get like container happy, and that's exactly what all of the retailers want you to do. The capitalism and consumerism of it is let's just buy, 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 buy. More will solve your solution. But actually it won't. And so what this might look like in your kitchen is you might start to buy on counter storage. So instead of having clear benches, all of a sudden you have racks and shelves and dividers, and you're using shelf inserts in every cupboard and using every minute bit of space. It might be that you've bought a bookshelf or a utility shelf that you're using either within the kitchen space or you're using it externally to the kitchen for like overflow. You're buying in bulk and you're doing that type of thing. It might be that you've started to store things on top of your cabinets. So if you don't have bulkheads that meet the cabinet front, you've often got that bit of storage. So maybe you're starting to like slide things up there where it's dusty and grimy and gross, but you're like, I just need more storage space. Maybe it's that you can't unstack the dishwasher properly because there are so many dishes in your cupboards that you can't even get that rotation happening easily. Maybe it's when you get home from buying the groceries, you find that the groceries sit in bags because there's just not quite enough space in the cupboards to put it away. And the temptation, I mean, at that point, the new container is your shopping bag. You're literally just making the bag your container and putting it on the floor, or putting it on the bench, or putting it in the bottom of the pantry. And you're just creating this additional space. So I want you to be realistic in your kitchen. Like, how much space do I have and what do I actually use? Because those two things, in order for your home not to feel overwhelmed by clutter, need to match. how much space you have and how much stuff you have needs to have like a balance between them so that your spaces don't feel crazy and disorganized. So think about, do I really need to buy in bulk? Or maybe I don't have space to buy in bulk. We definitely don't have the space to buy in bulk. I no longer even buy, like we used to buy like 5 kilo bags of rice. I don't even do that anymore because we actually don't have the space to keep it all. I would prefer to have to go and buy rice a kilo at a time. And maybe I'm buying it every couple of weeks. But it means that our house doesn't feel like, oh, I've got this big bag of rice and I don't know where to keep it. Maybe you need to have less dishes. Maybe you need to have less appliances. Maybe you need to look at your bench and think like, what actually do I need on my bench? And if you can have space in your cupboards to put appliances away, your bench is going to feel better and you're going to come home and you're going to look at your kitchen space and feel inspired to cook and feel like it's calm. We have like our sandwich press and our air fryer get used almost every day, but they actually live in a cupboard because I find that when they're out, it's just bulky and it feels cluttered and I don't like the feel of it. Whereas I don't mind that my kettle is on the bench. I feel like we've just grown up with kettles being on the bench and I'm okay with that. But I don't want my air fryer on the bench permanently. So whatever that is for you, I'm not saying air fryers can't be on the bench, but I want you to think really clearly, like, do I have the space for this? Do I have space in my kitchen for an air fryer? Yeah, maybe I do, but I need to get rid of the good dining set that's sitting at the back of the cupboard that I never use so that you can actually create space. And the last specific area I want to talk about is the garage. And that's because garages are are typically a utility space. So it's used for storage and it's used for things that may not easily fit in existing shelving or drawers. That's why there's so many different types of garage storage on the market where you've got like slide-in systems and wall storage because garages have things in them that don't kind of fit anywhere else, which you've got to think about. So when you're going through your garage and you're looking at your containers and you've just bought a new toy or I should say a new tool, maybe it's not toys, although I find it fun when I get something new, or you've got a new category, you've just renovated and now you've got all of these silicons that you don't know what to do with. Before you go and buy a new container to keep your silicons, have a think about like, is it easier just to get rid of these like little cans that have hardly anything left in them? Should I just go and buy a brand new one from Bunnings when I actually need it? Or go to the hardware store, get what you need? Or is there a category, kind of like toys, is there a category existing in my garage that actually can go so that I can keep silicon? You don't just keep need to building on building on building and more sets of shelves and more containers. There will be stuff, I guarantee, in your garage. If you're finding that your existing storage is full, there'll be things that can go. And you might free up some containers. I was working with a client last week and they were working in the utility space and they were like, oh, there's not quite enough storage. But as we started to go through, we were emptying boxes upon boxes upon boxes that were empty. And they were just all being thrown in the rubbish. I don't think there was much for donate from that utility space. But as things went in the rubbish, it's like, oh, now I've got this box, I can keep my globes in it. Oh, now I've got this box, I can keep my gardening gloves in it. And so you might find that as you curate, it's not that you need to just keep adding storage. Adding more containers is very, very rarely the solution to your clutter problem. I just want to remind you that if you reduce what you have, that is the point of containers. It's to contain. So if the stuff gets too much, reduce it. If we've got an issue at the moment where we've got a box of light bulbs. And so some of them are smart globes, some of them are just globes from lights that have changed throughout the house. Or, when you buy a 2-pack, but you only needed one, and it was getting quite full. And so we went through and we actually found 2 lights externally that we don't actually use that often that weren't working. Replace the lights in it, and all of a sudden the lid closes. I was like, great. Because otherwise, what would I have done? I would have had to go through, I would have just double checked, do we even have fittings that need this light anymore? Maybe it was for an old light that has been replaced. Like thinking through these things rather than thinking, oh, our globes have gotten so much, I need to go get another container. I didn't need another container. I needed to use what I had and then go through and get rid of things that you're just not going to use anymore. You just don't need anymore. If you want some tips on what containers to use, you're welcome to chuck a photo up in our Facebook community and say, what containers could I use for here? Because if you have a space that has just everything dumped in it, that might be the time to actually divide it up using containers. So that could be an area where you're like, oh, I'm not getting containers to put in more. I'm getting containers in to divide and to contain a category. And if that's the case, awesome. Let's do it. Chuck a photo in the Facebook community. And I'm sure that myself and other people can give you some ideas around that. So until next week, my friend, enjoy the freedom.